I couldn't breathe when I saw her. Wearing a tight black dress, heels clicking, holding hands with another man at my father's funeral. And right beside them, my 8-year-old son. She smiled like it was normal. The chapel went quiet as they walked in, like even the air was disgusted. People gasped. One of my cousins muttered, "What the hell is she doing?" I didn't move, didn't blink. My hands were locked around the folded flag from the military honor guard, the last thing my father ever touched. And here she was, Amanda, my wife of 10 years, parading her affair in front of my grieving family, in front of our son. She didn't know I had already changed the will. She didn't know the lawyer was sitting 2 rows behind me, holding an envelope with her name on it, an envelope that would rip the ground out from under her perfect little performance. But that moment broke something in me. And it wasn't just the betrayal. It was the look in Noah's eyes. Confused. Lost. Like he didn't know who to trust anymore. Like even he knew something was off. 3 days earlier, I had found the truth by accident. I was looking for old family photos on Amanda's laptop, something to include in the memorial slideshow. What I found instead was a folder titled Taxes 2021. Inside? Screenshots. Videos. Messages. Laughter. Moans. My world falling apart, click by click. But I didn't confront her right away. No. I planned. Because if she was going to destroy my world in silence, I was going to bury hers in public. And today, in front of friends, family, and her smug-faced lover, I was going to give her everything she deserved. 3 days before I saw her waltz into my father's funeral with her lover, I had no idea how far gone Amanda really was. I thought she was stressed. We both were. My dad's health had declined fast, and I'd spent most nights at the hospital, holding his hand while machines beeped around us. She stopped visiting after the 2nd week. Said the hospital made her anxious. I didn't push. Maybe I should have. That evening, I was sitting in my home office with a bottle of scotch, trying to gather photos for the funeral slideshow. Amanda had scanned some old ones onto her laptop, and since mine was crashing every 5 minutes, I used hers. The moment I opened her documents folder, I noticed a strange subfolder inside one labeled Taxes 2021. That alone raised an eyebrow. Amanda hated handling taxes. I clicked it. My stomach dropped. It wasn't taxes. It was a hidden photo album. Dozens of images, her in lingerie I'd never seen before. Selfies in hotel rooms. Her in the passenger seat of a car that wasn't mine. A man's hand on her thigh. I kept clicking. Screenshots of messages followed. Brett, last night was fire. Can't believe he still has no clue. Amanda, he's clueless. He's too busy playing nurse with his dying dad. Brett, can't wait for the funeral. Maybe after that, we can stop pretending. Amanda, let's not rush. I still need the money. I felt like vomiting. My hand shook as I reached for my glass. I couldn't tell if it was from rage or heartbreak. She was planning something. Something bigger than an affair. She wanted to drain me. But she wasn't ready for what I'd done just a week earlier. You see, my dad was sharp until the very end. Even in the hospital bed, he saw things in Amanda I had ignored for years. One night, when she didn't show up for a scheduled visit, he looked at me and said, "Son, sometimes silence tells you everything." He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. I think he sensed the truth before I did. So that night, we made changes to his will. We removed Amanda from everything. She was supposed to inherit a portion of his land and a generous trust fund. My father didn't believe in prenups. He believed in character. When he realized Amanda had none, he acted fast. The new will named only me and Noah as beneficiaries. Amanda would get nothing. But I didn't tell her. Not yet. I needed her to dig her own grave. To walk into that funeral with her head high, her lies intact, and her new man beside her. I spent the next 2 days in a fog of planning. I printed the photos. Burned the videos onto a USB. I handed everything to my lawyer with one instruction. Wait until after the eulogy. Make sure she sees the envelope in front of everyone. And he agreed. I didn't cry those 2 days. I didn't sleep much either. Rage replaced my grief. Strategy replaced sorrow. I became a version of myself I never knew existed, cold, calculating, and terrifyingly calm. The night before the funeral, Amanda came home late. She smelled like perfume and whiskey. I was with Stacy, she mumbled, avoiding eye contact. Girls' night. I nodded. Thanks for making the slideshow, she added with a fake smile. You're doing so much. Your dad would be proud. I stared at her for a long time. Then I whispered, you have no idea. She laughed awkwardly and went to bed. I stayed up all night. Tomorrow, she'd learn what it felt like to be blindsided, to be exposed, to be completely, utterly powerless. And it would happen with her lover right next to her, in front of our son, just like she planned, only not in the way she thought. The church doors creaked open like in some bad dream. Everyone turned, and there she was. Amanda walked in with her hand clutching Brett's arm like they were on a damn honeymoon. Her black dress was tight, the slit far too high for a funeral. She looked like she was attending a cocktail gala, not the burial of the man who once called her a daughter. But the worst part wasn't the dress. It wasn't even the smug grin on Brett's face. It was Noah, my son, dressed in black slacks and a clip-on tie, walking between them, holding her left hand while Brett had her right. That moment shattered something in me that no evidence ever could. I could take the lies, the photos, the secret meetups, but dragging our son into this circus? That was something else entirely. I didn't move, didn't blink, just stared as they walked down the aisle like they owned the place. Whispers started. My mother gasped. Amanda's own sister leaned over and muttered, "She didn't." But she did. She slid into the pew like nothing was wrong, Brett beside her, Noah in between them. She even waved at someone in the crowd. The audacity was biblical. The pastor looked at me, uncertain. I gave him a tight nod. He began the ceremony, but my focus stayed on her. Every time Amanda leaned in to whisper something to Brett, my jaw clenched tighter. Every time Brett touched Noah's shoulder like he had the right, something in me screamed. But I waited. After the eulogy, I stood to give my speech. My hands trembled, not from nerves, from restraint. I looked at my father's portrait, then back at the crowd, then at her. I lost my father, I began, voice calm. But in some ways, I gained clarity. I scanned the room. There are moments in life when the masks fall off, when the truth, no matter how ugly, walks straight into the light. I paused. In the days before today, I discovered a different kind of death, one that doesn't take the body, but devours the soul. Amanda shifted uncomfortably. Brett tilted his head. I won't speak ill of the dead, I said, but I'll honor my father the way he'd want, by speaking the truth. I looked straight at Amanda. Her smile cracked. Just slightly. Before my father passed, we made some changes together. He wasn't just a man of principle, he was a man of instinct. And when he sensed deception, he acted. Whispers. Confusion. Amanda's lips parted like she was about to interrupt. And that's when my lawyer stood up. Everyone turned to him as he walked down the side aisle and stopped in front of her row. He reached into his coat pocket and handed Amanda a sealed envelope. "This is for you," he said. She stared at it like it was ticking. I nodded at the pastor. "That concludes my speech." And then I walked off the podium and took my seat. Amanda opened the envelope. I saw her eyes scanning the page, her lips slowly parting in disbelief. The room was dead silent. Then she looked up at me, pale, breath caught, mouth trembling. For the first time in years, Amanda was speechless. I stood, adjusted my tie, and walked past her, not saying a word. She turned to Brett, but he was frozen. Noah looked confused. "Mom," but she couldn't answer. I walked out into the cold, the sound of gasps and murmurs behind me. The storm had just begun, and I wasn't done yet. I didn't go to the burial. My father would have understood. He hated drama, and Amanda had already desecrated the memory of the man who once bought her a car when hers broke down on Christmas Eve. I let the others say their goodbyes while I stood at the back of the church, watching the fallout. Amanda chased after me 5 minutes later. "Jake." "Wait." I didn't. She caught up anyway, heels clacking like gunshots on the pavement. "What the hell was that in the envelope?" Her voice cracked between fury and fear. "You changed the will?" I turned slowly. She looked rattled, still in control on the surface, but underneath, you could see the panic clawing through her. "That's what you're worried about?" I said quietly. "Not our son? Not showing up with your side piece to my father's funeral?" Her eyes narrowed. "Don't act like the victim. You've been distant for months. Always with your dad, ignoring me, ignoring Noah." I stepped forward. "Don't you dare bring him into this. You lied to him. You paraded a stranger in front of him like he was family. You think that's parenting?" "He is family," she hissed. That hit harder than she knew. She didn't say Brett was like family. She said he is. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't need to. Her face betrayed more than her words. That look, half confession, half defiance, told me everything. She was already replacing me in her head. In Noah's. "You knew about the will?" I said flatly. "No," she snapped. "I guessed when the lawyer stood up with that smug little envelope. And now you're angry you're not getting a piece of land you never deserved? You owe me." She shrieked. 10 years, Jake. I gave you a son. I kept this family together while you played loyal soldier to your dying dad. I didn't even raise my voice. I buried my father today. Don't mistake my silence for weakness. She flinched. That was new. Amanda was used to the version of me who let things slide, who turned the other cheek, who believed in working through things. But that version of me died when she walked into that church holding another man's hand. And now? Now I was someone else entirely. Behind her, Brett finally stepped out of the church, looking like he just realized he wasn't bulletproof. Everything okay here? He asked cautiously. Amanda waved him back without even turning. Not now. So that was his role, the lapdog. The fantasy. The man who made her feel alive again, as she wrote in her messages. But when things got real, she didn't want his voice. She wanted control. You humiliated me, she said, softer now, in front of everyone. And you taught our son that betrayal comes with lipstick and excuses. She paused. No comeback this time. I'll see you in court, she finally muttered, venom on her tongue. I nodded. You'll see more than that. Then I walked away. She didn't follow. I drove straight home and locked the door behind me. It wasn't about protection. It was about peace. For the first time in weeks, the house was quiet. I poured myself a drink and sat in the living room, surrounded by the things we once built together. Photos on the wall. A toy truck Noah left on the couch. A wedding picture that now felt like a crime scene photo. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat there, breathing, knowing this was only the beginning. Amanda was coming for war. But I'd already buried the first casualty. And it wasn't my father. It was the version of me that still believed she loved me. The papers came 2 days later. A courier knocked just after breakfast. Noah was eating cereal, asking when Mommy would visit again. I didn't answer. I just thanked the courier, shut the door, and stood in the hallway holding the envelope that smelled like expensive perfume and desperation. Inside, Amanda's petition for divorce. Standard stuff, but tucked into the back were her demands. Full custody, half of the house, spousal support, even a claim for my father's land, the same land the new will had ripped out from under her. She thought she could still win. I laughed, a dry, bitter laugh that startled Noah. Dad? I knelt next to him. Everything's okay, buddy. Finish your breakfast. He nodded and dug back into his cereal, like the world wasn't crumbling around us. I didn't respond to her paperwork right away. I wanted her to stew, to wonder. Amanda hated silence. That's why she always filled it with insults, drama, or noise. So I gave her silence. Total, calculated silence. And in that silence, I started preparing. I hired an investigator. Not just for the affair. I had enough evidence of that. But for finances. I needed to know if Brett was helping her hide money, funnel income, prepare for the kill. Turns out, he was. 2 accounts. One offshore. One hidden under a fake consulting business. The consulting was Amanda's idea. Brett was just the puppet. She pulled the strings, played innocent, and smiled for the camera. Classic Amanda. But not anymore. I compiled everything: emails, wire transfers, shell documents. I gave it all to my attorney, Linda Morgan, a woman who looked like she ate men like Brett for breakfast. This is enough to shred her, she said, flipping through the folder with quiet fury. She wants to play hardball? Let's break the bat. Still, Amanda tried. She called. Left voicemails. Some soft. Some venomous. Her tone flipped like a light switch. You're being dramatic. We can still fix this. If you loved Noah, you'd drop this. Brett makes me feel like a woman again. You haven't touched me in months. That one stuck in my brain like a splinter. I hadn't touched her because I was watching my father die. Because I was sleeping in hospital chairs. Because I was holding a man's hand as he took his last breath. And she was busy being a woman again, with someone who wore designer sunglasses indoors. I stopped listening to the voicemails after that. Instead, I focused on Noah. We started building routines: morning walks, bedtime stories, puzzles. I could see the confusion in his eyes, but he smiled more, laughed more, asked fewer questions. Amanda saw that too, which is why, I think, she did what she did next. One afternoon, she showed up outside the house unannounced. Not knocking, not ringing, just standing by her car in the driveway, arms crossed, sunglasses on, Brett in the front seat. I opened the door and stepped out. You're not supposed to be here, I said. She smirked. You going to call the cops on the mother of your child? No, I said. I'll just start recording. She rolled her eyes, pulled off the sunglasses. You really want to do this? You want to drag Noah through a custody war? You did that the moment you brought your boyfriend to my father's funeral. Her jaw clenched. She turned and walked back to the car. Before she got in, she looked over her shoulder. This isn't over, Jake. No, I said. It's just starting. And she knew I meant it. Because now, I wasn't just reacting. I was fighting. And she had no idea what was coming next. Thought there's a kind of anger that burns quick, like fire. And then there's the cold kind. The kind that settles in your bones, methodical, patient. That's what I felt now. Amanda thought she was in control, that she could light the match and walk away while I burned. But I wasn't on fire. I was frozen and in control. Linda, my attorney, moved fast. We filed our own motion. Full custody, no spousal support, asset freeze. Amanda's name was wiped from the deed to my father's land. The documents hit her desk the same day her fake consulting scam was reported to the IRS. No warning. No calls. Just a hard slap of reality wrapped in legal paper. She didn't respond right away. But Brett did. He sent me a message. Let's be men about this. Amanda is done with you. No need to punish her. Men? He wanted to play the reasonable man after sneaking around with my wife and helping her siphon money behind my back? I didn't reply. I sent the message to Linda instead. She smiled and added it to our exhibit file for court. The hearing was scheduled for a Thursday. I wore a black suit, same one I wore to my father's funeral. Amanda showed up in beige with a designer bag and her nails freshly done. Her mask was flawless, but her eyes were wild. She didn't expect to see Linda. Didn't expect us to bring a forensic accountant. Didn't expect screenshots, email chains, copies of her secret bank withdrawals. Proof she tried to fake expenses on Noah's school tuition to pocket the difference. She tried to speak up, cried about being emotionally neglected, claimed I was distant and obsessive. But the judge didn't care about her soap opera. He cared about the numbers and the lies. At one point, Amanda actually said it wasn't real money. It was just future planning. That drew a visible flinch from her own lawyer. By the end of it, the court granted me temporary full custody. Amanda stood frozen, mascara smudging under her eyes. I didn't gloat. I didn't even look at her. I walked out with Noah's backpack over my shoulder and my son holding my hand. When we got to the car, he asked, "Is Mommy in trouble?" I knelt next to him. Mommy made some mistakes, and grown-ups have to fix their mistakes before they can do what's right. He nodded slowly. She'll say sorry? I didn't answer, because the truth was, Amanda didn't believe in sorry. She believed in blame, in projection, in always being the one who was wronged, no matter what chaos she caused. Later that night, she left a voicemail. No apologies. Just venom. You think you've won? You haven't. Brett and I are stronger than ever. You'll be old, bitter, and alone. And when Noah grows up, he'll see the kind of petty man his father really is. That was Amanda, always needing the last word. But I had already moved past her words, because something had shifted in me, something permanent. For 10 years, I built a life thinking loyalty would protect me, that love could fix deception, that silence was maturity. But silence only ever helped Amanda. It covered her tracks, let her sleep at night, gave her power she never earned. Now, I was speaking, legally, financially, strategically, and she was bleeding from every angle, still wearing that beige mask, still pretending she wasn't unraveling. But I saw it, behind the filters, behind the designer lies. Amanda was finally losing, and I was just getting started. Amanda had always been good at pretending. At brunch, she was the glowing wife. At parties, the social butterfly. On Instagram, the perfect mother with witty captions and filtered smiles. But filters don't work in court, and lies unravel fast when exposed to real pressure. 2 weeks after the hearing, she lost her job. Apparently, the company didn't appreciate being dragged into a tax fraud scandal. Amanda had listed her boss's name as a consulting client. HR reviewed the documents, made some calls, and she was escorted out with a cardboard box of belongings and no severance. I didn't hear it from her. I heard it from her sister, Megan, the only person in her family who still spoke to me. She's spiraling, Megan said over the phone. She's blaming everyone but herself. Sounds familiar. She said you set her up. I didn't need to. She set herself on fire. I just stepped back and watched. And that's exactly what I kept doing. I didn't speak to Amanda. I didn't text her. I didn't return the 10 missed calls from a blocked number that I knew damn well were hers. Instead, I focused on Noah. We took walks, built Lego cities, Baked cookies from a box mix and ruined the first batch. He started calling me Chef Dad. Every time he laughed, it healed something I didn't even know was broken. But Amanda couldn't stand the silence. One Saturday, while Noah was at a friend's birthday party, she showed up again. This time, she wasn't wearing beige. She wore black, tight, angry, and desperate. "I need to talk," she said, arms folded. "You can talk to my lawyer. Jake, don't be an ***. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Funny. That's the word Brett used when he emailed me an apology. She blinked. "What? Oh, you didn't know." I stepped aside and grabbed my phone, opened the email, and handed it to her. Brett had finally broken. After being interviewed by IRS agents and realizing Amanda had made him a fall guy, he cracked. Sent me a long, pathetic apology. Claimed he didn't know she was still married. That she said I was abusive and never home. That he never meant to come between a father and son. Amanda read it in silence. When she was done, she didn't speak. Just stood there, hollow. I took my phone back. "Looks like your night folded when he saw the torches." Her voice was flat now. "They froze my accounts. I can't even buy groceries." I didn't blink. "There's a food bank on 9th Street. Opens at 10. She scoffed. "You think this is funny?" "No. I think this is justice." Amanda's lips trembled. I saw it, just for a second, the crack in the mask. Then she tried one last trick. "I miss us," she whispered. "I miss the family." I tilted my head. "Which part do you miss more? The nights with Brett? Or the moment you walked into my father's funeral holding his hand?" Tears welled in her eyes. But I didn't believe them. And I didn't care. "You can see Noah next Saturday," I said. "Supervised. Public place, 2 hours." She flinched like I'd slapped her. Then turned and walked back to her car, slower this time. No heels. No sway. Just a woman realizing she bet everything and lost. I shut the door behind her and stood still, letting the silence fill the room. This was the Amanda she kept hidden for years. And now, everyone could finally see her. And there was no mask left to hide behind out a month past. It was strange at first, the calm. No knocks. No surprise appearances. No voicemails laced with venom or crocodile tears. Just peace. Amanda had vanished from my life the way a storm fades, not with a bang, but in silence after the wreckage. The court finalized the custody. I was granted full legal and physical rights to Noah. Amanda would get supervised visits once every 2 weeks, provided she stuck to the conditions, sobriety checks, no overnights, and Brett was banned from being anywhere near my son. She didn't contest it. She couldn't afford to anymore. Her legal team dropped her. Her savings were frozen. Her reputation burned. And Brett? He skipped town. Last I heard, he fled to Texas to reset his life. Probably left her the way she left me, without warning, without shame. Funny how karma doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just packs its bags and moves on without a word. I watched Amanda walk into the courthouse one final time, thinner, tired, her face stripped of makeup and pretense. She didn't look at me, and I didn't look away. I signed the last document, stood, and walked out without a single word. I didn't owe her a damn thing anymore. Not my time. Not my forgiveness. Not even my hate. She was just done. Later that night, I sat on the back porch with Noah. He was sketching something with crayons, a house, 2 stick figures, a dog. "Is that us?" I asked. "Yep," he nodded. "That's me and you. And the dog we're gonna get." I laughed. "We're getting a dog now?" "Yup. I already named him. Rocket." "Rocket." "Yeah, because he runs fast and poops in space." I nearly spit my coffee. That's impressive logic. He beamed at me, and in that moment, I realized something simple and powerful. I made it. Through hell, betrayal, humiliation, and loss. I survived. But more than that, I had rebuilt. Not with vengeance. Not with scorched earth tactics. But with truth. With patience. With strength Amanda never imagined I had. There was a time I thought loving Amanda would define my life. Now, I knew losing her saved it. I sold the house we shared. Too many ghosts. Too many poisoned memories in the walls. I bought a smaller place closer to Noah's school, with a yard big enough for Rocket, whenever we found him. I boxed up the old wedding photos, not out of bitterness, but out of closure. Let her haunt someone else's shelf. As for advice, here's what I'd tell anyone walking through what I did. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Silence isn't always noble. Sometimes it's a prison you build yourself. And don't ever confuse loyalty with submission. You can love someone and still walk away. Still protect your dignity. Because love without respect isn't love. It's manipulation in a pretty dress. And if someone betrays you, let them go. But make sure they never forget that you stood tall when they expected you to beg, that you rebuilt when they prayed you'd collapse, that you thrived while they drowned in their own lies. I tucked Noah in that night with a smile. He held my hand until he fell asleep, and for the first time in what felt like forever. I did too. Peace doesn't come loudly. It arrives after the storm, quiet, earned, and deeply yours. And this time, it was mine.